Hey, welcome to Mikey's Video Game Madness. Today we're playing Fuse on the PlayStation 3. This is an Insomniac game, but the weird thing about it is this also came out on the Xbox 360, and that might be a little weird to you or might not make any sense to you at all. But Insomniac is the company that made Spyro the Dragon, the first three. Of course, they brought Spyro the Dragon to multi-platforms after Insomniac quit making them. Insomniac's also made the Ratchet and Clank games and the Resistance Fall of Man games. Most of those games were PlayStation exclusives. So it's kind of weird to have Fuse be a multi-platform game. But then they went out and made Sunset Overdrive, which is one of the few games on Xbox One I would really like to play. I wish there was some weird, twisted circumstance that made them bring it out on the PlayStation 4, but I doubt that'll happen. If I ever get an Xbox One, that'll be one of the first games that I'll get. Now, as far as this game goes, I have played the Xbox 360 version, and they're fairly comparable. I wouldn't think that Insomniac would come out with a shitty port for the PlayStation 3. Usually, multi-platform ports are pretty bad on PlayStation 3, but in this case, they're pretty comparable. This is a mostly cooperative base game. It's not all that long. It's like 6 missions. The 6 missions are somewhat lengthy, but it's a fairly short game. It's made for multiple plays with friends. You can play it by yourself, as I am playing now. Yeah, the thing about multiplats I would go for if you're a game collector, is a simple little rule. If you know it's on Xbox 360, unless you want to play it on the PlayStation 3, I get that. Sometimes I just want to use the PlayStation 3 for certain games, like for instance Street Fighter 4. I know that all the Street Fighter 4 ports are better on the 360, but I just prefer playing on the PlayStation console. I like the controller better, although you can get a fighter pad or a fighting stick. It just feels familiar to me. I don't know. There's just something comforting about the PlayStation systems. I only really go to the 360 as a last resort. Usually if I can't find the game, or if there's a better port, or if I can't play it on a different system. But the rule of thumb is if there's a multi-platform port, if you look at the side of a PlayStation 3 case, an older PlayStation 3 game will have PlayStation spelled all the way out with 3 beside it, whereas newer PlayStation 3 games just say PS3. Now if there's a multi-platform port that says PlayStation 3 all spelled out on it, and it's also on Xbox 360, as a rule of thumb I would definitely go to the Xbox 360 version unless you feel compelled to play it on the PlayStation 3, which I totally get. Again, I said I played Street Fighter 4 on the PlayStation 3, even though the Xbox 360 version is the better port. And it's just aesthetically, there's not like a huge difference. I think the lag input's like a half a second different, but I don't play in tournaments, so that shit doesn't really bother me. I mean, back in the day, the Super Nintendo version of Super Street Fighter 2 was better than the Sega Genesis version, and I played the shit out of the Sega Genesis version. So it's just preference. Now on to this game. There's nothing really all that special about it, and that's sort of disappointing because Insomniac Games is such a great developer. It's kind of sad to see such a development company overutilized. This isn't a bad game in any way. It's just really, really average and vanilla. It kind of reminds me of the slower moments on Mass Effect. It kind of feels like the shooting segments maybe in the first game with a little bit more detail. everything functions, it does everything right, but it doesn't do anything special. It's a fun game. It's cheap. If you want something new to play, you can find it fairly cheap, and you can play split screen with your friends. I will say the frame rate leaves a little left to be desired. It's not horrible, but it seems to go under 30 frames per second, a little bit under, just enough where you can tell that it's not at full 30. And I guess the reason why I noticed this more is because the more I play on the PlayStation 4 with 30 frames per second games, those games stay at 30 when it's a 30 frame per second game most of the time. And yeah, even though these last 7th gen games advertise as 30 frames per second, you're quickly finding out that a lot of these games didn't run at 30 frames per second. I'm always playing with money when I'm recording these things. Sorry about that sound. But anyway, yeah, you'll notice the frame rate dips. Now, you get used to it, and it doesn't really bother you. Really, all the Insomniac games kind of have a similar feel. I mean, they're usually pushing a lot of stuff. I mean, it looks really nice. Oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, I don't have the little partitions on the side. So far, so good on the PlayStation 3 recording. I hope it stays this way. Would love to not have the partitions on the side anymore for PlayStation 3 games. I can't explain why all of a sudden the games are in full screen. I haven't done anything different when I hook up everything, or I haven't changed the settings on anything. The only thing I can guess is that maybe the firmware on the PlayStation 3 updated itself and somehow it works better with the recording device. But I have two actually recording devices. One, you have to use a computer. I usually use the laptop, and you hook up the component cables directly. But I've been using like the HD HPVR Rocket, which actually uses HDMI exclusively. In order to use the PlayStation 3, you have to have like this little adapter that hooks up to component cables and then turn the signal into a HDMI thing. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I always have the dongle kind of tucked away on the side so I don't have to go around and rehook it up. Of course I would with the PlayStation 2 or whatever I want to record, but right now everything works great. So everything was hooked up the same, and it's just easier than having to bring the laptop in and record it with the laptop and have all these long wires. And I got animals, and they kind of get curious about stuff, so while I'm recording they're like tripping over everything, and it's just, and it just takes the excitement out of like hooking everything up and getting a video done in a timely manner. And it's just easier to do the HDMI. So I was willing to sacrifice the partitions, but they were really bugging me. And I said on my first God of War video kind of what was going on. I kind of knew about it for a long time. I just didn't say anything because sometimes if it's there, if nobody says anything, you don't notice it. But I was kind of fed up by it, and then I made like a little border for it, but in order to make the border fit, like part of the screen had to be cropped, and that was a little bit disappointing because the PlayStation 4 games and the Xbox 360 games and anything else that use HDMI record it so well. There's just something on the PlayStation 3's HDMI that just, there's like that lock on it. You can turn it off on the PlayStation 4, although Sony still kind of a little bit, what's the right word to choose, they're a little bit nitpicky when it comes to what you're allowed to see. It's not really Sony, it's developer, but Sony allows the developer to choose what you want to see. Like for instance, the last Dragon Ball Z game, I think it was called the Xenoverse or something like that, I have it. I plan on recording it. I have no idea when it's gonna come out. I have no idea how it's gonna come out. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. I was really proud of my last God of War video. It's somebody instantly thumbs down my video. Like, if you're gonna thumbs down my video, please say why you didn't like it instead of just thumbing it down because I don't know what to fix to make the video better for you. I don't know if I would actually change it if I didn't agree with your suggestion, but I would read it at least. I mean, if I think you're thumbing it down. My English is so well today. If you thumb down my video and you don't provide an explanation, I think you're just being a troll because I don't know what's wrong with the video. Like, perhaps I did something wrong, and if you point it out, I could fix it if I agree with you. I mean, sometimes I just like the kind of guerrilla style in my videos. I know they're not super professional. I'm not making a dime off of this. I'm doing this out of the love for the videos that I make and the videos that I enjoy watching. I hope this is making sense. I'm like all over the place here. I'm sorry. There's a lot on my mind, which is the perfect time to record a video. I say that a lot. But I keep on pushing myself to make these videos because, you know, I enjoy making them. I don't know how they turn out all the time before I make them. I always have the intention of making a good video, but sometimes they just don't turn out as well as other videos, and instead of going back I try to go forward. But if you decide to give my video a thumbs down, I would like to know what you didn't like about it, and be constructive with the criticism. Like the other day, like, it wasn't geared towards me actually, it was geared to one of the people on my channel, and the person was like, because we kind of agreed that Strider hasn't aged that well, and that's just our personal opinion, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but somebody had to be ugly about it and tell them, oh, well, you just suck, I beat the game 50 cents, which was 2 quarters with ease when I was 10 years old. And I'm just like, wow, you don't have to be a dick about it. I mean, that's not constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is like being respectful and saying something that like could make something potentially better, or something was weak and this is what you could do, you know, talking to you like a civilized human being instead of saying you suck. Like, first of all, I don't know how honest they were actually being. Like, a 10-year-old beating a game at 50 cents. If they did that, more power to them, you know. And if they're listening to this video, I guess they're getting free publicity. But I notice a lot of the people that criticize other people on YouTube are just the videos in general, don't actually make content on their own. Big surprise there. But it's shitty, like, you know, and it's not very common for anybody those games are made to steal quarters from you. And I hate to break it to you, all you Strider fans. I loved Strider 2 when it was new, and it just doesn't feel like it holds up well. It feels clunky. That's just my opinion. Not everybody has to like the same games, and you don't have to tell somebody they suck at it, you know? Some people like to play games casually, and Strider is not an easy game to like only finish it on like 2 quarters, especially with an arcade joystick. That's hard. But anyway, it's not even relevant to this, but I'm just giving you an example of like some of the people I had to deal with lately, because this is a labor of love. I mean, the only thing that I get out of this is making videos that I personally enjoy watching. It sounds like self-masturbation, like me watching my own videos, but I like the videos. It reminds me of the videos that there's some YouTubers that still make videos like this, and I've been vocal about some of the ones that I still like, but a lot of these kind of videos are fading. And like videos like this, I know they're not as exciting, but I used to love videos like this just as background noise. Sometimes I didn't even have to watch the video, because like what's the point of like a let's play or whatever where somebody's just talking about exactly what's going on the screen at the same time? I kind of like them talking about the game a little bit and then going on tangents. I do it anyway whether I want to or not, but those are the kind of videos like I like to watch. They were very relaxing to me because it almost felt like, especially when I had this shitty terrible job, it was so depressing. And when I got home, I was riddled with like stress and anxiety. Like I was living at a place that was in a hopeless situation. Like I knew I was gonna lose the house, not by my fault. Like I was paying the rent and everything, but other people are moving out. People were losing their jobs. People didn't have jobs. It's like everything was promising when we first moved in, and I was working my ass off. Like I might have had one day off a week, and I was working sometimes like a ridiculous amount, like I maybe like 90-hour weeks sometimes. It was ridiculous. Like I would go into work at 7 and not leave till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like everybody would bail on me. They're like, "Oh, I got kids. I have to leave at 5." So they're like, "Oh, Michael will pick up the pieces." So I had this shitty job that, and I never knew what my days off were. They would let me know like the day before I would have the day off, so I couldn't make plans or anything. And then I was playing catch up. These people that I lived with, like that weren't employed, didn't clean up the house or anything, and I just couldn't deal with it. So if I on my day off, if I didn't go to the bar that was walking distance nearby, I had like a little partner in crime who would go. It was pretty pathetic, but you know, I guess it worked at the time. Drink your little sorrows away for the one day you had off. Yeah, we go there, are like the days I knew that I had to go to work the next day. I would just sit and watch these YouTube videos that were really relaxing and calming, and it just made everything feel okay for a little while. It was very comforting, and it almost made me feel like, even though I hate it home, I was at, I guess, the rose-colored version of like home, the good memories, the comforting feelings of being a kid and playing video games at nighttime, and you weren't even allowed to be up, and you'd have that warm glow of the television set, like if you had your friends over or whatever, and you just kind of hung out. That's what these videos kind of reminded me of, and I was like, I could probably do this. Obviously, I can't do it as well. I don't have nearly as many subscribers. But I also feel like, not that I'm taking away from the talents of all the people that I enjoy watching, because I think they fully deserve the amount of people that they get, if not more. But I was just like, I could do this, and I wanted more videos like this because I was inspired by these people. I felt like I needed to give back, even if I'm the only one that watches them. And I like making videos. I like video editing. I like making content. I like seeing something recorded and then put into like this little video editing screen of things I recorded, and just excited how it's going to turn out on YouTube after everything's all been compressed, and experiment and try to make things slightly better. It's exciting to me, and I really love hearing feedback from you guys and stuff like that. But yeah, my videos are the way they are is because these are literally the kind of videos that I enjoy watching. I mean, one of the first, everybody saw Classic Game Room. Those are like reviews, but there's other YouTubers, but a lot of them have come and went. But one of the first YouTubers that really started to make the kind of videos I really enjoyed was Steve Benway, and he was the most inspiring person to me, one of the first people I discovered that made those kind of videos. His quality has gotten better with time, and that's fine. It doesn't take away from his videos, but his older videos, I guess the camera wasn't as good, and it just had that guerrilla style, and I guess the oversaturation from the TV that he was recording off of kind of had that glow that I remember playing video games as a kid that would light up the room, and it kind of had that where the picture wasn't crystal clear in HD. I'm unsure if when I started watching there was an HD option. I think 480 is as high as you could go back then. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. And just the sound quality, it sounded almost like listening to the radio, and there was just something so comforting about that, and it got my mind off of going to that shitty job. And then I found other YouTubers that did the same thing, and ironically it took me about 2 or 3 years, I'd say more 2 years, to feel inspired enough to make my own video, because I had to figure out a way to record where it turned out good. I didn't really have any filming equipment that was good enough. I started out with a camera. My camera just did not record video games well at all, and I tried several different ones and I just couldn't get it right, until finally I got a credit card. I got my first capture device, and then things turned out good. And then people had issues with the sound. I was always tackling people with the quality of the sound and video and all that stuff. But anyway, that's a short story that I'll probably tell you more facts on later on, but I don't know why I decided to talk about that. That's just kind of how these videos go. They're not planned out. But as for Insomniac game, this is pretty vanilla. Like, looking at their game after this, Sunset Overdrive, and then looking at their past games, Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, Spyro the Dragon, it just doesn't have that flamboyance, I want to say. It's just everything that Insomniac produced before and after this has like this flamboyant style to it. Like, everything's just exaggerated and kind of in your face. Spyro the Dragon was a little bit more kid friendly. I think the style came more in the Ratchet and Clank games. Even the Resistance games that had a more serious tone, like the monster designs and stuff, were kind of humorous and out there. And even though it had a serious tone with like the people and stuff like that, like all the carnage that was happening and the giant monsters, it was kind of on the flamboyant, silly side. And I haven't played Sunset Overdrive, but everything I've seen of it looks fantastic. And Ratchet and Clank had all those crazy weapons and characters like Captain Quark and Dr. Nefarious. I think that's what his name is. The doctor has the globe on his head. And obviously Clank's lovable. Ratchet, it's hit or miss. He looks like any animal mascot. I'm worried about the new Ratchet and Clank being geared more towards kids because it's based on the movie, but we'll see. Ratchet and Clank always looks like it's geared towards kids, but there's a lot of adult humor, and the gameplay is actually made for like a normal gamer, so those games get tough later on. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This is a fun game. It's enjoyable. Take care. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Bye.
If you want to, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.